Getting hit and hitting back, that's the essence of life. It's the essence of business, it's the essence of everything.
We're all gonna fight. You're either fighting the system or you're fighting your own brain. You need to make a choice.
The whole reason God put men on this planet is to suffer. And the best men are the ones who suffered the most. I wouldn't be top G if I didn't suffer more than anyone else. You're a better man than everyone else if your life was a mess and it was a hardship. Because you're not what happens to you, you are how you react to it. And the best men on earth are men who have had their parents die, their best friends betray them, their girl betray them, thrown in jail, their money stolen, stabbed, robbed. And every time something happened to them, they sat there and they looked in the mirror and said, what can I learn from this? How can I stop this happening? Those are the best men. Those are the men respect. Those are the men women want. Why do women love scars? Look, they tried to kill him and they can't. That's why I want him. The best men suffered. You find a man who's never been through suffering and nobody gives a shit about him. Men don't like him and women don't like him. Men are no good without it.
I don't know what's happened to men in the world today. They have none of this fire. Men used to wake up and walk in random directions with their friends. No Google Maps, no idea where they were going, just walk in random directions to find people who were different to them and just conquer it, just take it. Savages. You're supposed to have that inside of you, but enough brains to direct it in the correct direction, to not end up in jail. But to wake up and say, no, I'm supposed to live a fantastic life. I'm supposed to be a king. Do you understand that me, Andrew Tate, I'm treated like a king? Restaurants don't even charge me. Oh, Mr. Tate, thank you for coming for free. I don't make reservations. I turn up. I can take anyone's girl off the table. I'm a king. How do you live as anything less? You know I've done it. Doesn't that bother you? I say these things and there's two kinds of people. People who get angry and they're like, yeah, I need to live like that because I'm only going to live once. And then there's people who hard code and just code. Oh yeah, well, you know what? You're an idiot because it's some anon account. The code person will never get anywhere. Any of you with a brain should just be angry. Like, my car costs more than your life, your house, everything. It's not even all about money. It's about the fact that, to me, the car is nothing. It's like, whatever, cheap, quick, whatever, who cares? I want one. To you, it's a dream that will never come true. I don't know where the savagery in men has gone. It needs to come back, and it needs to come back in the correct direction. Anger is an extremely powerful, motivating force. You should be angry. Too angry to sleep, too angry to be lazy. You don't struggle with motivation when you're angry. When you're furious, you're very motivated.
Anyone who knows me will tell you, if I'm awake, I'm working. I'm awake, I'm working. From the second I wake up, I'm on my laptop till the second I go to sleep. First thing I do when I wake up is check my phone. First thing I do is I work. And if I even do anything fun, I kill all the fun because I make it work. Oh, we have to film it, get this, need this scene, da-da. Filming having fun is not having fun, ever. So I make it work. So I only enjoy work. I like to work because I like to feel proud of myself. I don't want to be happy, I want to feel proud of myself. So I rest when I sleep, sure. If I'm ultimately tired and need a few extra hours in bed every once in a while, yeah, okay, I'll do that. But I never just have a day. Tristan, back me up. Have I ever said I need a day where I just need a day off? Have you ever heard me say I need a day off? No. Ever. Like I work all the time. I think I've always understood that you can outwork people. You can truly outwork people, and you can outwork a lot of things about yourself as well. You can outwork a lot of negative emotions. You can outwork a lot of problems in your mind. Like people sit and say, oh, I'm unhappy or I'm sad. You don't have time. How do you find the time in the day to sit around thinking about being sad? Like, you have shit to do. Like I don't have time to sit around and contemplate how I feel because I'm busy. So how do you even have time for that? I've had people sit and give me long trotes on how they feel, and I'm like, where did you even come up with this shit? How long have you been sitting around just thinking about nothing? I don't have time for it. A plane defies gravity with speed. Momentum. That's all it does. If a plane stops moving forward, what happens? It falls down, right? So if you can do the same thing with yourself and your mentality and your problems and everyone else around you, you can outwork everybody. So I've always understood outworking people, and I also think that it's very easy to work hard and win when you're already winning. It's hard to get there. It starts off harder. It's harder to find a way to make money and work all the time and deal with all the bullshit and be at the bottom of whatever industry you're in and not have any reputation, whatever. But if I were to say to all of you right now, for every minute you body spar, you get $1,000. I guarantee we'd still be out there right now sparring. Everyone would be like, all right. So like, once you get to the point, like in my position, where I know if I put the time in, I'm gonna win, then how can I stop now?
Why do some men do what they do? Why did Elon decide to put rockets in space instead of just retire? He was rich after PayPal. Why?
That's fair.
Why did Alexander the Great need all that land? Why did men go to the Antarctic to try and cross the icy, barren, empty plains and freeze to death to just be the first men who did it? Why do that? You can't even put it on Facebook back then. Who gives a shit? Some men are built different, sir. Some men want to do it because it hasn't been done. And that is the reason why. They do not need much more motivation than the fact they will be first. There isn't much motivation to get on a rocket and be the first man on the moon, because the probability is you're gonna die or get stuck up there and never make it back. Or even if you do go and you do come back, half the people on Earth won't believe you went at all. So why would you do that unless you're just that kind of guy? The fact that you will say to me, but it puts a target on your head, shows me that God will never, ever give you my position of influence, because along the way, you will have so many chances to be a which you will take, which will prevent you from ever getting to my echelon of capability and influence and power. Because if I gave a about having a target on my head at all, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. And I wouldn't have the ability to do the things I can do.
That's fair.
So I don't care. I'm doing it because it must be done. There's an opportunity for it to be done, and I can do it better than anybody else.
Your mind and your body and your soul, created by God, have a degree of innate understanding of what's right and what's wrong. And if you go against that, you're gonna feel guilt, and you're gonna feel shame, and you're gonna feel uneasy, and you're not gonna feel normal. If you're gonna go through life and accept all the garbage they tell you to put inside of your brain, I don't believe you can be happy that way. I don't believe you can be a happy individual walking around pretending that blue is green, pretending that green is red, like staying in your house, being fearful, being afraid, hating your fellow man, believing in these narratives that there's no way you can ever get ahead because you're systematically oppressed and held down by some whatever. And if you absorb all this crap, you're gonna be an unhappy person. So I think that either your mind is right and you're happy and you're resisting against the matrix, or you're an unhappy person who's absorbed the matrix programming and you're resisting against yourself. We're all gonna fight. You're either fighting the system or you're fighting your own brain. You need to make a choice. Now, I personally would rather fight the system than sit inside of a self-destructive cycle looking at myself in the mirror. Yes, I need my 8th injection. Yes, I'm so sad. Like, that sounds worse to me than being canceled. So you can cancel me. But this battle's here for everyone. And I think if the world understood that and if people understood that, a lot more of them would stand up. But they think they can avoid it, and they can't.
Everyone's obsessed with the positive experiences, but nobody is chasing any kind of negative experience, which is why, I chose fighting, right? Yeah. But I believe every man should be choosing to do something which is extremely hard, which they hate, which sucks, because you don't appreciate life at all without it. The reason people are taking so many drugs, for example, the reason people chase higher highs all the time, and the reason they're constantly taking drugs and trying to new and drink more alcohol and chasing higher highs all the time is because they don't experience any lows. Mm-hmm. So you always want a higher high, but I promise you, the high you're at is fine if you balance it with a little bit of low. If you bounce down there for a week and come back to where you were, you're good. Constantly chasing higher highs is hedonism, which ends in one place. Mm-hmm. It always ends in a spiral, a downward spiral, right? And butt sex, like the whole city of LA.
You're obsessed with butt sex.
Well, hey, bro, it's your city. So you need to stay away from constantly chasing those things. You need to artificially manufacture some lows. I chose fighting because fighting will do that for you. It's hard, it's stressful, you're worried, you train all the time, you're exhausted, you win, you lose, you get hurt, you go hospital. There's a lot of negatives in it. But there's not enough negatives in men's lives today. But you're asking me about jail as if it's a good or bad thing, or if I'm worried about going back. But to me, all experiences are on an even level playing field. Whether it's a good experience or a bad experience, it doesn't matter. There's experiences and then there's comfort. And it doesn't matter if you're a good experience or a bad experience, as long as you're on the experiences side, I'm happy for you. My father died, which was a negative experience, but you learn a lot from it. It was an experience. It was a period of life where I was learning and growing, as was jail, as was sitting in the Bugatti meeting, as was buying a jet, as will be conquering the crypto space, as will be getting fucking stabbed when he finally gets hold of me and I can't block it with my hand. That's life.
Every time something bad happens to you, you are your most competitive if you are motivated by it, right? So getting hit and hitting back, that's the essence of life. It's the essence of business, it's the essence of everything. So absolutely. So sparring is a fantastic way to put it out, but also in every single thing that happens in your life, whenever anything bad happens to you, you can be motivated by it. Tristan said in jail, he quoted the Count of Monte Cristo, was it 13 years in the Chateau d'If, then the world is mine. So he's saying, we got hit, we got thrown in jail. And the story of the Count of Monte Cristo is a really long story, but he gets thrown in jail unfairly. He comes out of jail, becomes one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in the world, and then gets loads of revenge on all the people who put him in jail. And Tristan kept saying, 13 years in the Chateau d'If, because he spent 13 years in jail, and then the world is mine. So even when we got hit with a Matrix attack, it excited us. We're like, they put us in jail, but now everyone talks about us. Okay, we'll get out one day. 10 years, 5 years, one day we'll get out. How do we take that attention? How do we monetize it? How do we become bigger and better? The people who have attacked me are furious. They made me more famous than ever before. So when we even were in jail, when bad things were happening to us, we were literally sitting there planning. Cool, what's gonna happen when we're out? Fine, we're gonna have a bunch of interviews. I need to be on point, I need to be sharper. Give me a dictionary, I need to learn new words. What's gonna happen if we're gonna bring this unfortunate clip up? What am I gonna say? What's gonna happen if they try to attack me from this angle? You have to plan and you have to fight, you have to be excited by it. So getting hit by things, you can either go, I got beat up, it's so hard, I'm in jail, I miss my family, or you can go, okay. Give me all the time I need to prepare for my counterattack, my revenge. And I'm just getting started. They're f***ed.
I think that a lot of people don't understand that it's all of the challenges and struggles that's going to make them, it's either going to make or break them. I don't read studies very often, but I was sent a study about stress from somebody. It's probably the best study I ever read. And it's talked about the placebo effect of stress. And it said that they took some of the most stressed people in the world, CEOs, etc. And the ones who believed that stress was really bad for them were dying earlier because of the cortisol inside of their blood. And they said stress was really bad for them, they were having heart attacks. But the ones who believed that stress was good for them and it made them perform, I perform under pressure, stress is good for me, they were living longer. So the same drug inside of their blood, how they framed it inside of their mind had different effects on their body. So from that point onwards, even though I already thought this way, I knew I was the right way. I knew it was the right way to think innately because I've done pretty good in life that way. But this confirmed it. Every time I feel stressed or under pressure, I get excited. I hate to not be stressed. I wake up and I'm like, everything's good. Yes. Like that's just how I am, right? But it's how you adopt, it's how you look at the problems and how you use them to fuel you. So the question was, what's the problem for the average man today? What's the biggest problem? I think there's a whole host of problems. But what you have to do is frame it inside of your mind and understand that all of those problems are going to allow you, give you the fuel and the unlimited motivation that you need to become a successful and beautiful individual if you frame it in the right way. If you take a man and give him a life shielded from problems and he never has any to face, I guarantee you he's terrible at being a man. The best men in the world have gone through shit. That's why women love scars. Because it didn't kill you. That's the whole point of it, right? So the best thing you can do as a man is look and go, okay, this is hard, this is hard, this is hard, this is hard. I feel negative because these are all so difficult. I'm struggling with X, Y, Z. Let me internalize all of that and turn it into a superpower. Let me become genuinely uncomfortable with my situation in life and go and fix things. Because like I said, the universe is absolutely and utterly very giving. And if you truly hated being in the position you were in, you wouldn't be there very long. Yeah. So I think that the number one problem with the world today and the biggest problem that men face isn't the problems themselves. It's just the way that they've been taught to mentally frame issues. People think when bad things happen to them that somehow they're a victim to the universe and bad things only happen to me and this is so terrible. They don't understand that bad things happen to everybody, and the most successful person you know had all those, probably maybe even worse, at least the same bad things happened to them. They just framed it differently and used it. That's the difference. So
I'm happy for all of it. Jail, Matrix attacks, everything. But I just look around me at all these other men. They have no savagery about them. There's no conqueror spirit, nothing. Genghis Khan had the whole world and still wanted more. As did the Romans, as did the British. Like the days of old, nothing was enough. The world was not enough. All of it. Everything. That's how I function. I see people like, oh yeah, I've got a BMW. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. I could buy 100 new cars today and I still would be like, nah, not enough. Should have bought 101. You can be very happy and also extremely discontent. I know my life is perfect objectively. I'm realistic to know that I've got one of the best experiences on the planet. I understand that. But I'm also waking up every day on fire. to get more, which is how I got here in the first place. Lacking motivation is just lacking the basic masculine essence for conquest, which means you were born to be conquered, because you're either conquering or you're conquered. There's no in-betweens in this reality. You're either going to end up a peon in someone else's empire, or you're going to forge your own. Or you can unite with a band of brothers and be a knight or a nobleman within a brotherhood, which is genuinely conquering Earth. Like Tristan, he'll say, oh, Andrew's the top G, fine. But I am the number 2 in command of a huge, vastly wealthy empire. I just don't understand. And I'm saying this randomly as I'm driving. I just look into the cars of people around me, and they're just so cucked. I don't understand how they're living these existences. And even worse, if you're that cucked, if you're that happy with the baseline medium, if you're that happy with the norm, you can't compete against the outliers. Outliers are always going to wake up and say, I'd rather lose everything than not have everything. I can't live this mediocre existence. I'd rather lose everything I have in pursuit. Get rich or die trying. How can you outcompete that man? His mind is there. He's ready for all eventualities, for exceptionalism, an exceptional reality. If you ever find yourself struggling with motivation, you need to understand that you're broken as a man. Men don't struggle with motivation. That's one thing men don't struggle with. Because a man is never happy. He's never content. He's constantly looking to conquer and take over and get more and more and more.
Why did Christopher Columbus get on a boat? I don't know. You tell me.
Valid.
Maybe he should have just sat at home with his money, getting jobs, having sex, and no, have kids. Don't take any risks. Don't put a target on your head. Why do that? You could just have sex and stay home. You could have sat around having a degenerate hedonistic life and nobody would fucking remember his name. Or perhaps he thought, fuck it, I'm going to risk my life and do something different. The target on my head doesn't cross my mind. I don't care. If you're going to work, work. If you're going to chill, then chill. You don't want to be a dim light that's half on. You want to do one or the other. Now, I find chilling and relaxing, I guess this is my personality, it makes it easy, extremely stressful. There's nothing more stressful for me than trying to not do my work. Because if I'm not doing my work, then I'm thinking about the work I'm supposed to do, and I'm more stressed than doing the work. So everyone goes, Andrew, you need to just chill. I'm like, that sounds terrible. That sounds like the most stressful situation to be in. So all I want to do is work, right? But if you're gonna do something, you should be doing your absolute best at it. What's the point in doing anything if you're not gonna do your best at it, right? And it's amazing how things can translate, right? If you do your best in one thing, it's not only the fact that the way you do one thing is the way you do everything, but if you do your best in one thing, it can radiate out across your entire life. That's the greatest thing about being a man. As a man, when you upgrade your life and you become a better man, by extension, you automatically improve the lives of all of your friends, of your woman, of your children, of your community, of your country. We radiate. It's amazing. You can put a little bit more effort in bed with your girlfriend, make her a little bit happier. She'll then cook your breakfast, gives you a little bit extra time to work. Before you know it, you got a Bugatti. Boom. That's how I got mine. But putting in that extra effort pays off, dividends. And you can look at it spiritually. You can be philosophical about it and say that God rewards people who try hard. That's how I like to see it. God is literally looking at all of us, no matter which God you believe in, and he's saying, all these people I've created, who's thankful, right? Because any one of us could have lost our eyesight to bacteria at age 2. Any one of us. And we didn't. So he's saying, who's thankful enough for what they have that they're trying their absolute best with it all of the time? Because if you do that, he's like, I like this guy. I like him. He's cool. Give him blessings. Give him something. It's amazing what comes your way. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm extremely difficult on myself. And I will say right now, the only thing I've really tried my best at is to stay out of jail. And that's not because I'm afraid of jail. That's because I know my haters are going to seethe when I walk. That's my motivation. If someone were to say to me, Andrew, if you make an extra $1 or if you throw an extra punch, endless blessings will come your way, it would be disingenuous for me to sit and say I couldn't do that.
For me, what I decide what's true and what isn't is the things that allow me to become most competitive. Depression is not real because that allows me to become more competitive. I don't give a shit what paperwork you pull out your ass and which depressed person or psychologist comes in here and tries to explain to me how depression works. I'm more competitive if I don't believe in it. Because then when bad things happen to me, it doesn't cross my mind that I might catch depression. It is not even an idea in my me and Tristan are in jail, everyone's depressed, we're smoking cigarettes and dancing around. We can't be depressed because we don't believe in it. So I'll only adopt ideas that make me hyper competitive. And sometimes that's gonna make you very humble. Sometimes it's very competitive to think, shit, I might lose here. Sometimes it's competitive to be delusional and think you can't lose. If you corner me and there's no way out but to fight and 10 men are gonna try and kill me, I'm gonna believe I can win. Delusional maybe, but it makes me most competitive. That's what I believe. I've decided, my brain works that way. Which mindset is the most competitive? Which mindset is the most useful to me right now? Which emotion is the most useful to me? I change emotions. We can all change our emotions if we really want to. You could all think yourself sad. You could all think yourself happy. Everyone can do it, but people take too long to do it. You need 10 minutes. Get good at it. Give yourself a few seconds. And then you have to decide which emotion puts me in the most competitive state right now. And you'll often find that happy is not one you choose very often. It's not a competitive emotion to be happy. Oh, I'm happy. Then you don't get shit done. I like to feel proud all the time. I like to feel, proud is certainly my favorite default emotion. I like to be proud of what I've done and who I am and what I have. Proud is what I always revert to, which allows me to be competitive. I don't have time to think anything that isn't competitive. Anything that makes me non-competitive to me is not true. So I know exactly what you're saying. I could argue that there are universal truths to the universe, and there are, but if we're going to accept the mind frame that we all live in our own truth, which I guess is the way the world's going because we're then your truth needs to be, okay, which mindset, which belief makes me the most competitive, fearsome individual? And then you should adopt that, and then you should be as successful as humanly possible.